Hello, welcome to Sparky Hobbies. My name is Ben, and this is the final matchup between the Black Newbie Deck and the White Creature Aura deck. And I'm going to be playing as the Black deck. So in order to start, I got my deck, got my life, and I'm just going to draw 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will keep this hand. It won the first game because the White Creature Aura deck made a play mistake, and the Black deck lost the second game because it got mana screwed in a very similar situation to this, actually. So we'll go ahead and look at this hand. We have a Nightmare. It costs quite a bit. It costs 6, 1 black, and then 5 of something else. It is a creature. It has a star in the bottom corner. What does that mean? Well, it's flying, which means it can only be blocked by creatures with flying. Nightmare has power and toughness equal to the number of swamps its controller controls. So if I had 4 swamps, or somehow, it would be a 4/4. If I had 7 swamps, it would be a 7/7. So its power and toughness is totally dependent on how many swamps I control. I do have an extra planar lens. When an extra planar lens comes into play, I remove target land from the game. I'm going to choose swamp, so that way whenever a land of the same name is imprinted card is tapped for mana, which will be swamp, its controller, me, will add 1 more mana to his mana pool of any type that land could produce. Now that is a global artifact. It'll affect my opponent as well as me, so if he taps swamps, he'll get 2, but he's playing a white deck, so chances that he has swamps is pretty low. I got a swamp, so that's my land to tap into resources. I got a Wicked Akuba. It costs 2. It's a 2/2 for 2 that has an ability that taps for any amount of black mana, and I can do damage. So as long as that target player is dealt damage by Wicked Akuba that turn. So I got a Gravedigger, which is a creature with a comes into battlefield effect. When it enters the battlefield, I may return target creature card from a graveyard to my hand. Costs 4. It's a 2/2. I have a combat trick, which I can pay any amount of black mana X, pay 1 X, well, any amount of mana plus 1 black mana, and target creature get plus X plus 0. It's a good way to get through damage. And I have only 1 other swamp, so I have 2 swamps and only really 1 spell that I could cast. So do I feel like I'm going to be able to get a 3rd swamp by my 3rd turn? And I think so. But last turn, the black deck decided not to keep something with 2 spells for 2 mana, and it didn't work out. So the black deck lost. It'll get to go first. And it'll keep this hand. Untap, upkeep, draw. If you get to go first, you don't get to draw, so it doesn't get to draw. Play a swamp in your main phase. Don't have anything to cast for that 1 black mana, so I will go through my end step and pass the turn to my opponent. My opponent looks at his hand. Oh, that's right. He had to mulligan down to 6. So he only got to drew 6, but he'll go through untap, upkeep, draw. He'll get to draw. He didn't get to first. He will play plains. During main phase, no combat phase, no creatures to attack with. Second main, nothing, and end step. Pass the turn back to me. I have nothing to untap, nothing to upkeep, draw. Yay! I drew a swamp. I will play that swamp. I will tap for 2 and play my Wicked Akuba. 2/2. It is summoning sick. Once you have creatures on the board that can attack, but the first turn they come into play, they're a little bit disoriented, and they have to go through 1 turn. First turn they come into play, or first turn they enter the battlefield, they need a turn to chill out. So he can't attack this turn, be able to attack next turn. Second main, end step, pass turn back to my opponent. My opponent will untap, nothing to untap, nothing to upkeep, draws. He will play a plains, he will look at me evilly and pass the turn back to me. I reset the board, I untap. I have nothing cards that require upkeep. I draw. Yay, I drew another swamp. How good is that? I will play a swamp. Now, Wicked Akuba's ability says that if target player is dealt damage by Wicked Akuba, I may pay 1 black mana and target player will lose 1 life. Target player dealt damage by Wicked Akuba this turn loses 1 life. Okay. So this is pretty cool about this particular Black Newbie deck, is now I can attack my opponent for 2 combat damage. He'll take 2 second main. In my second main, I may use his ability as many times as I want to for black mana. So I'll generate 3 black mana, and he will lose 1, 2, 3 life for a total of 5 that turn, which is a pretty good turn 3 ability. Do that by the 3rd turn. I will pass back to my opponent. My opponent draws a card, or, well, my opponent has to no untap, no upkeep, draws. He will play plains. He really needs to block the Wicked Akuba, so he will play tap for 3 and play a 2/2 flyer. Flying creatures can block, flyers can block anybody, but in order to block a flying creature, the other creature has to have flying or reach, has to have those abilities to block a flyer. So I can't block him, but he can block me. The white deck can block my Wicked Akuba. It's a 2/2 flyer, but it also has a extra ability, which is conditional. It says as long as Freewing Equinaut is enchanted, it may do 2 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. So as soon as it's enchanted with something, it has an extra ability. It is also summoning 6, so it can't attack this turn. But now it has a blocker, so it'll pass to me. I untap. I draw a card. Yay, another swamp. I'm actually very, very happy about that. I'll play a black. I'm going to go ahead and attack right into his 2/2. My opponent definitely is going to block, because if he doesn't, he'll hit 2 plus the 4. So my opponent definitely does stand in front of the Wicked Akuba, and my Wicked Akuba dies. Now I did this in a particular order, and so does the Freewing Aeronaut. It took 2, my Wicked Akuba takes 2. They go to the graveyard. So what my opponent doesn't know is that I have a card in hand. Earlier we saw this in my opening hand. I'll tap for 4, generating 4 black mana, and I will play a creature, Gravedigger. When Gravedigger comes into play, I may return target creature card from my graveyard to my hand. So graveyard is cast, it enters the battlefield, I return the Wicked Akuba back into my hand, and yeah, definitely want to do that in a certain order. And now I have another 2/2. And my opponent creature died, so I will pass the turn back into my opponent. My opponent is sighing a little bit. He'll untap, upkeep, no upkeep, draw. He draws a card, plays plains. Okay. He knows that I'm going to play that Wicked Akuba probably. So he's going to tap for 3, 1 white and 2 of something else. So 3 white mana and cast an Opal Champion. The Opal Champion is a enchantment, cost 1 plus 2 of any other color. Whenever an opponent successfully casts a creature spell, if a Opal Champion is an enchantment, which it is, it will then become a 3/3 creature with first strike that counts as a knight. So it becomes a 3/3 knight creature. Okay. So it's an enchantment right now, can't block, but if I cast that Wicked Akuba, he sure will. So he'll pass the turn back to me. I untap. I draw a card. And I happen to draw a removal spell, so the question is whether I really want to go for the win, and I think I kind of do. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I have to do this in a certain order. So, yeah. I only have 5 black mana, but I want to cast something up to 7 mana. So, and I can do it with the Extraplanar Lens. So I will tap 3. I'm going to remove this swamp as part of the imprint cost to Extraplanar Lens. And let's take another look at Extraplanar Lens since it's been, I don't know, just a little while. It costs 3. You remove target land. Whenever a swamp is going to be tapped for mana, I will be able to add 1 mana of any mana type that land can produce. So it produces black mana, so all of my extra swamps will now produce an extra black mana. So I will, also pretty interesting is that I really want to cast this terror, but I can't actually target his enchantment right now because it's an enchantment. I need it to be a creature. So I'm going to cast my Wicked Akuba just like he expects me to. I tap 1 swamp, which generates 2 black mana. I play the Wicked Akuba. It's summoning sick. Let's see here. There you go. It's summoning sick. My opponent's Opal Guardian becomes a creature. I then may pay 2 and cast Terror on it. It dies. The Terror goes in my graveyard. Yeah, okay. Terror goes in my graveyard. The Opal Champion goes into him. I attack him for 2, and he goes down to 13, and I pass the turn to my opponent. So that had to be done in a certain order. I had to play the Extraplanar Lens first, and then I had to cast the Wicked Akuba before I could cast the Terror and target his creature. So that was pretty interesting. Untap. My opponent's untap. No upkeep. Draws. Okay. My opponent just drew an awesome card for him. What would my opponent do? I have the benefit of knowing what's in my opponent's hand, or the black deck's hand. So the white deck is, what would I honestly do in this situation? The Wicked Akuba would do, he has 4 swamps, which means the Wicked Akuba could do alright, so time to show you what's in my hand to let you know what I'm thinking. I'm trying to measure how much damage the Wicked Akuba is going to do, because I could cast the Seal of Cleansing and destroy the Extraplanar Lens, which will mean instead of tapping for a total of 8, he will only tap for a total of 4, which is obviously huge if he's able to do damage to me. And he would, because I don't have enough mana to, I only have 4 white mana in this deck, or, well, not in the deck, but on the battlefield right now. So I could cast a creature, and that would allow me to return one of my enchantments back into my hand, which obviously I'd return the Opal Champion back to the white hand, just like he did with the Gravedigger. So if I have a blocker, he would attack. If he attacks with the Wicked Akuba, I could just block, and then he can't do that insane amount of damage. And I'll be able to... So, what am I doing? The other cards I have in my hand are a Greater Oromancy, Celestial Mantle, and a Pentac Ward. Pentac Ward would draw me a card. So if I play the Oromancer, I will get the Opal Champion back in my hand and be able to cast it next turn. If I cast the Seal of Cleansing, I can only do 1. If I cast the Seal of Cleansing, I can destroy the Extraplanar Lens and take like 2, 4, 6, 8 damage. Man, that is a lot for Seal of Cleansing. If I play the Oromancer, I could block the Wicked Akuba, and then I will only take 2. And then that will die. And so will the Wicked Akuba. So then that I will only be taking 2. So it appears that if I play the Seal of Cleansing, I'll be taking 8. If I play the Oromancer, I'll be taking 2. So I guess in this case, he's going to cast the Oromancer, get the Opal Champion back into his hand, the white deck is, and plan on blocking the Wicked Akuba and only taking 2 damage, and then play Seal of Cleansing next turn, hopefully, and get rid of that nasty extraplanar lens. What he doesn't know is that he just walked into a trap. Okay, so I am quite happy to have my Wicked Akuba die. He just doesn't know that yet. Because I have in my hand the combat trick. Do you remember from the beginning? The Howl from Beyond? So yeah, and I can pump up all of it with the extraplanar lens. So I get to untap, upkeep, draw. I get another swamp, which just makes it that much better. I will declare that I'm attacking, attack tappers. He will, just like we thought, block my Wicked Akuba so that he doesn't have to take the damage. Before damage goes on the stack, I want to generate 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 black mana. I'm going to use one of it to cast the spell, and the X is going to go to the extra cost so that my guy gets +9, +0. My Gravedigger, the one that he didn't block. Casting it on the Wicked Akuba do nothing. They're already going to basically do damage to each other and die. But I can get through for a significant amount of damage right now, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I cast it on the one that he didn't block, and he's going to take 2 + 9 for 11. So that means he goes down to 2 life. And both of these creatures will die. But he's at 2 life. I think that's pretty good. All I need to do is draw like just the simplest of spells, or even possibly cast that Nightmare in my hand and fly over for him. Unless he'll have a blocker flyer, it won't matter. So I will pass the turn back to my opponent. My opponent will untap. He's not happy about that. Draws a card. He has to play some sort of creature or something to stop the 2 damage going through. So if he pulled the Seal of Cleansing, the Gravedigger would still kill him. If he played the Opal Champion, all I would have to do is not play a creature and attack him for 2. So his only chance right here is to... He just top decked this card, and this is exactly what he's going to do. He's going to play Faith Fetters. He gains 4 life, so he goes up to 6 total. Gains 4 life. Enchanted permanents, activated abilities cannot be played unless they're mana abilities, and an enchanted permanent is a creature, it can't attack or block. So now my Gravedigger cannot attack or block, and so he bought himself another turn. But he's kind of in dire straits sitting at 6 life with no creatures in hand, so he'll pass the turn back to me. I untap. I still have the extraplanar lens. I draw a card. I don't know that like he's been able to like basically destroy it. I'll tap for 3, generating 6 to play a Nightmare. So my Nightmare is a 6/6 flyer. And yeah, so next turn he's dead unless he pulls something to stop that Nightmare. He has to pull a creature with flying or else he's dead. So untap. He'll draw a card. He'll play a Plains. And he's got nothing. He'll play his one creature that could possibly fly, or play the Opal Champion, it's a 3/3 first striker. He doesn't have any or enchantments that's going to give flying right now. He'll play the Seal of Cleansing. He'll tap, or he'll just sacrifice it to get rid of my extraplanar lens, which I'm very sad over, but I guess that's okay. And then he's got nothing. He's got enchantment, 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 and so he'll go ahead and scoop, or else we'll go ahead and pass the turn back to me. But the game's over. I untap. I draw. And then I just attack with a 6/6 flyer, and he dies. So that's it. And so black deck won the beginning to a play mistake. I think the white deck could have won. And then the black deck really rolled over, did not get its mana in game 2. And we saw a little bit how the white deck was playing those enchantment auras and ramping up his core Spiritdancer, getting +2/+2 for every aura enchantment to it. And it would have been a nasty guy. And so the black deck scooped, not being able to deal with that. And then finally we through a mode of attrition and just damage. Black deck beat the white deck in game 3. So 2-1. Black Newbie Deck won 2 out of 3 games against the White Creature Aura deck, which is kind of funny because I had a bad audio videos where I'd done this once before, and then the White Creature Aura deck had went 3-0. So good games. You guys have any questions? Let me know. If I'd made any play mistakes, let me know that, because that's bad. I don't usually make too many mistakes, but if you have any questions, let me know. If you'd like to know any of like the keywords or vocabulary, you can ask me below. And remember to subscribe and like if you subscribed and liked. All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.